All right, my language arts friends, this is Miss Kepley here today, and we are going to talk about using commas correctly. It's part of the grammar series, and all that comma is so misused and abused and put in all the wrong spots. So today we're going to look at exactly how to use it and where to put it. So this lesson today is a mini lesson with examples, and I'm going over 5 rules, and those rules each have an example to go with it. If you would like the 3 practices and the check-in that goes with this, check the link below. You can click on that and get that for extra practice for these rules. So let's get started. The comma. The comma is a punctuation mark that separates words, clauses, or ideas within a sentence. It's usually where you naturally take a breath. And commas matter because let's look at this. Let's eat grandma. What? No, that's awful. We need a comma there because we're directly addressing her. Let's eat grandma. So that comma saves lives. Punctuations matter. So let's look. Rule number 1. Lots of words, but don't freak out. I'm going to explain it to you. Use a comma before a coordinating conjunction. A coordinating conjunction are these little words. And, but, yet, so, or, nor, for. We also call them fanboys, if you know what that means. But coordinating conjunctions. And when those coordinating conjunctions join 2 sentences together, you use a comma. So let's look at what I mean. James lied to his mom about doing his homework, but she knew the truth. All right, step 1. Look for the conjunction. There it is. I put a yellow box around it, but. So that but is separating our 2 other complete sentences. Sentence number 1, James lied to his mom about doing his homework. That's an independent sentence. It could stand by itself. Sentence number 2, she knew the truth. We put those 2 sentences together. So we have to include a comma and a conjunction. So the comma goes before the conjunction. And make sure the clause before and after the conjunction could be independent sentences. So that means if the rest of the sentence wasn't there, it would make sense. And it does here. So caution. Just because there's a conjunction in a sentence doesn't mean you need a comma. So let's look at this example. James slammed the door and did his homework. You do not need a comma because you are not joining 2 complete sentences. Let's look at before the and. James slammed the door. That would be fine. That would be a sentence. Let's look after the and. Did his homework. That would not be a complete sentence. So we do not use a comma there because we're not joining 2 complete sentences. Woo! That's rule number 1. That's a big one, y'all. Let's go to rule number 2. Use a comma after an introductory dependent clause. Wow, that sounds fancy too, but don't worry. I'll show you what we mean. Since James slammed his door, his mom took away his Xbox for the rest of the day. So again, introductory dependent clause. Introductory means it's at the beginning. So step 1 for this rule, look for the subordinating conjunction at the beginning of the sentence. Since. So because we have that word there, it changes this to a dependent clause. So you put the comma after the dependent clause. And there's actually a natural break when you read it out loud now. Since James slammed his door, his mom took away his Xbox for the rest of the day. So your comma goes after the dependent clause. So this part of the sentence cannot stand by itself. Since James slammed his door, you can't just leave it like that. We need more. So we need that comma and the rest of the sentence. All right, so here's a little tip for you. A dependent clause is one that starts with a subordinating conjunction. So examples of those are after, although, as, because, before, if, since, unless, until, when, while. There's a huge list of these. These are just some examples. But when you put that at the beginning of a sentence, sometimes it changes the first part to a dependent clause. Not sometimes, all the time. All right, let's look at rule number 3. You might be used to this one, but there's some examples I want to show you. Use a comma to separate each item in a series. A series is a group of 3 or more items. So, James searched through his book bag, his desk, and under his bed for his homework assignment. So look for 3 or more items in a series. So in this instance, we have a book bag, his desk, and under his bed. So you're going to put the comma after each item in the list, except for the last one. So we have book bag, comma, desk, comma, under his bed, done. We're done. No comma there. The comma before the and is usually, some people say it's optional, but most guides require it. It's actually called the Oxford comma, and I always put it there. I think it looks good. So warning, do not put the comma in front of the first item on the list. So this is an incorrect version. James searched through his comma, book bag, comma, his desk, comma, and under his bed for his homework. You don't need that comma before the book bag, so don't put it there. Commas go after each item in the list. Yay! That one was pretty easy. Let's look at rule number 4. Use commas on both sides of an appositive. Appositive is an interrupting clause. It just gives you more information about a noun. So, James, an avid video gamer, knew he had to complete the work and apologize to his mom in order to get his Xbox back. So, step 1, look for the bonus information about the noun, if there is any. In this case, we have some. It's right there, an avid video gamer. That gave us bonus information about James, so that's our appositive. So now you put a comma before and after the extra information. So James, comma, an avid video gamer, comma, knew he had to complete the work and apologized to his mom in order to get his Xbox back. This extra information about James, this is extra information about James. Without it, the core sentence would still work. So we don't actually need it to make the sentence make sense. So it's bonus info, so we put commas around it. So let's look at this tip. If the extra information is at the end of the sentence, so if that bonus comes at the end, you only need a comma before the phrase. So when James, here's our example. When playing video games, James often likens himself to Ares, the god of war. The god of war is our bonus information, so we put the comma after Ares, the noun. Rule number 5, use commas to separate the name of a person being spoken to from the rest of the sentence. So for example, Mom, I can't find my homework, James yelled down the hall. Who is he talking to? You look for names or titles like Sir or Ladies and Gentlemen in a direct address format. So who is he talking to? He's talking directly to his mom. He's not talking about her. He is talking directly to her. So because of that, we need to separate that from the rest of the sentence with a comma. So you're going to put the comma before and after the name, unless the name's at the beginning, of course. So caution, a direct address involves the use of a person's name or title to address a remark or question directly to that person. Sometimes you use a name to talk about someone. You're not talking directly to them. In that case, you won't use a comma. So for example, in this sentence, James yelled at his mom. We're talking about what James did to his mom. He's not addressing her directly, not talking to her directly, so we do not need any commas here. We are done. These are the common errors that I see with most of my students, so that's why I wanted to introduce these 5 rules to you. I feel like I need a nap, but we got through it, y'all. Good job. If you need some extra practice, again, check out the links below. And that is all, so have a great day.